New reporting is revealing that Donald Trump's inner circle increasingly views former White House Chief of Staff Mark Meadows as a likely fall guy for the former president's attempts to overturn the 2020 election. A lawyer close to the former president telling Rolling Stone, quote, "Mark is in a lot of trouble." Another put it more bluntly, Mark is going to get pulverized. Meadows had previously retained a GOP lawyer ahead of the January 6th hearings, a sign that he was taking the Select Committee's investigation very seriously. The Rolling Stone article included conversations with 8 sources familiar with the matter that show us exactly why. They learned that the January 6th committee has been quietly probing Meadows' financial dealings, and it has made clear to witnesses that the committee is searching for signs of legally dubious payments. We should note that NBC News has not yet independently verified this Rolling Stone report. Joining me now is the co-author of that piece, Rolling Stone senior politics reporter Aswin Subbasing. Aswin, thanks for being here. In my opinion, Meadows is the common denominator. He seemingly was present for all the key meetings, the key conversations, the key moments. Why would Meadows ever waste that kind of valuable currency and not flip on Donald Trump, who you report is already making him Covfefe Boy 2.0?
Well, as you point out, something former President Trump has started telling people very close to him every once in a while when he drops it into casual conversation is that he didn't always know. He's at least making the private claim that, oh, I didn't always know what Mark was up to, which, you know, whether true or false is a hilarious claim to make at a juncture like this, because what people like Mark Meadows, John Eastman, Rudy Giuliani, Jeffrey Clark, any number of individuals who tried to subvert democracy during those incredibly tumultuous months, they were only doing what they were doing because Trump asked them to, ordered them to, or told them to. So it's kind of interesting now that, perhaps interesting isn't the right word here, typical is a more apt expression on this part, that MAGA world is right now on a furious hunt for a legal patsy or a legal scapegoat. After all of this, even though any such patsy, if you implicated them in an alleged crime, there is no way you can objectively do that without actually directly implicating Donald Trump next. Because as I said earlier, they were only doing these things, Mark Meadows included, because Trump, their boss or their client, told them to.
So your reporting notes talk about this legal maneuvering that Trump's team has sat down to run through what I'm calling some legal game theory here. So if Meadows faces additional criminal charges, what more can you share with us about what those possible legal gambits could include?
Well, a lot of it would be based off of exactly what Trump has been telling his inner circle, which was Mark's thing was his thing. Yeah, he worked for me, but I didn't always know what he was doing. So a lot of legally trying to insulate Trump is based around that when it comes to his legal inner sanctum at the moment. And that applies to not just his former White House chief of staff. It applies to people like Rudy Giuliani and fellow Trumpist attorney John Eastman, where the line coming out of the public relations machine and the
Aswin, don't you think, though, eventually there ends up sorry to interrupt you. Do you think there ends up being this cumulative effect, though, eventually, which is if Trump keeps on basically saying, I didn't know what this person was doing, I had no idea what was going on, this person kind of took independent action on their own. From your reporting and from your sourcing, don't you think there comes a point in time, though, that alienation of all of these people that clearly were in his inner circle and were clearly working at his bidding, that ends up backfiring on him?
Well, it definitely has in the past, and that is a calculation that they're weighing here and there. But it's gotten to a point where they don't really have a choice but to make this a plank of their legal theory or legal strategies, I should say. Of course, there's always a chance of that backfiring and people flipping. You've seen that time and time again during the Trump administration and in Trumplandia, whether that's former Trump personal attorney Michael Cohen. That's obviously a big example in terms of what happened when federal charges actually did start coming down. But when it comes to the questions of, oh, is there any chance that someone like Mark Meadows or John Eastman or whoever is going to flip? Of course, that is a question hanging over all of this, especially if, as the not just January 6th Capitol Hill probe is intensifying, but the Biden Justice Department probe is also intensifying. But at the same time, something to consider is so many of these guys, including Mark Meadows, are so deeply intertwined in Trump world. So much of their political protection and in some cases legal protection depends on their continued proximity and good standing with former President Trump. So that's not the end-all be-all in these cases, but it certainly is a darkly seductive factor when talking about, oh, why hasn't someone like former Representative Mark Meadows simply flipped on Donald Trump? It's unfortunately, for him, I suppose, not nearly as uncomplicated as that.
Well, let's talk about incentivizing somebody like Mark Meadows to flip. What sort of illegality is the January 6th committee looking and exploring when it comes to Meadows' financial arrangements with other Trump advisors who sought to overturn the 2020 election?
Well, unfortunately, I can't get into that now. We will likely have more reporting on that soon over at Rolling Stone. So sorry to tease you with that. But what I can say is just echoing what was in our report from yesterday, which is when it comes to the potential criminal exposure that Mark Meadows has. And as your viewers most likely know, the January 6th committee has the power to send criminal referrals on to actual federal prosecutors. It's not just the stuff directly related to the coup attempt that they've been examining recently, or directly related to the riot, I should say. They've been grilling various witnesses on Mark Meadows' secret financial arrangements with other Trump advisors as it pertains to the post-2020 election work, where with the questions that they've been asking, it became very clear to the witnesses that they are hunting for signs of misconduct or illegality in these arrangements. And again, more to come.
I mean, I really could not have asked for a better cliffhanger. Asawin saying you have to come back, because once you do have the ability to share with us some of that inside track on that illegality, we definitely want to know. Thank you for being here today.
Thank you so much for having me.